The only thing we're doing tonight is the PowerPoint. At this point, let's do our PowerPoint demonstration, motion demonstration. And we discuss some rules. Oops, make a productive meeting. 3 minutes per person to speak. Interruptions are not acceptable. And do not interrupt the speaker. Okay? We're all on the same page. This meeting, we're doing it something like that. Fine. Okay. I guess we'll start with, everybody needs notes on each law. We have a special.
Hey, John, you can't hear back here. Can you turn the air on? Or turn the mics up?
Wait. Press it up and it'll shut itself off. Okay, regular meeting on 8/12/2014.
I tried that, to be honest. It's even on the last section. I think the fans is running well.
With a couple changes, public hearing held at
Top locker, anyway.
It's for August 23rd.
They're real nice. I have a motion and a second to accept those minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Pass. Okay, we're moving on to the next meeting. We had a special meeting, it was posted and everything, with Hemingway Point over the fire and some things they need to change. They need to get a pipe in the lake so we can pull water. Their system is will not take these new fire engines with a push. And they agreed to get it fixed, or in the process of getting an agreement to get a pipe in the lake and a couple relief valves in there. Fire hydrants are buried a foot underground, they plow over it. There's a big chance of freezing up. So we need to be able to pull water down there, so they've been working on that. And, can we have those out? Everyone wants to read them? It was a special meeting, we went down that one. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Whoop, I didn't get a copy. Special board meeting Wednesday, September 3rd at Hemingway Point. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Payment of bills.
I need to ask for authorization to pay, issue checks number 11043 through 11047, and an electronic fund transfer 0914 in the amount of $78,675.55. And just a note, it's larger than normal due to a $54,732.34 check to the Charlotte County Road Commission.
For some road work we had done, some roads that were not in the end paid for.
So that was checks 11043 through 11075.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to approve payment of the bills.
I have a motion and a second to pay the bills. Check number 11043 through 11075, including the transfer to the federal government. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Passed. Split committee, none this month. We didn't split anything. Planning. Treasurer's report, Ron. Could we skip one?
Treasurer's report summarizes cash activity for the month of August, ending in a general fund balance prior to the bills that we just approved of $1,054,854.81, and road fund balance of $231,930.25, most of which will be consumed by the road work we have done this summer. And the tax account had a balance of $714,605.49, most of which was dispersed today, actually.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we've got, which we need to do tonight, but we can do it later. We worked on a greenbelt zone in the village mixed use and village commercial area. And then we're gonna have a hearing for the landings, where they're applying to go, they're non-conforming, they wanna go from a B, non-conforming B to a non-conforming A, which will allow them to expand or do work there. And that's the hearing for the 23rd. But we can do this after we take care of most of our other business.
Okay, zoning. Thank you. Zoning report, Terry?
I drove 6 miles, attended township board meeting, split committee meeting, and issued 4 zoning permits and processed 1 PC app for the landings. Income for the month was $1,306.52.
Okay. Assessor's report, we're hiring a new assessor. We have a guy that's all qualified. He was the Sheboygan County Equalization Director, and they made him level 4 now, so he quit like Tom Wolf did in Charlotte, because nobody wants to go back to school for 2 years to keep your job. And that's what it amounted to, so the guy's looking for work. Excellent assessor, I've had great recommendations from everybody on him. And me and him are gonna work together for about 2 months, 3 months. And he's gonna take some of his salary, and I'm gonna do some of the work that was missing in our system. And he's gonna correct all that, and then we're gonna move on to this year's assessment. But we're gonna have an interview either Tuesday or Thursday during the day sometime. We'll be meeting. You guys can meet him and we'll go through it. We haven't hired him yet, we're just gonna have a meeting. But I did interview him today. He's got great credentials. He's got some counties, or townships, a couple townships in Petoskey. Small ones.
John's name is?
Joel Lavender. Oh, he says it's Little Traverse Township in Evan County. And we went through our computer, there's some things that need to be changed. We did those corrected. And we're picking up some houses that didn't get on the roll. We gotta go back for some taxes. Got missed. So, but anyway, he's on top of what's going on. We talked to him, so what works out for you is Tuesday or Thursday for me to meet this guy and talk to him. We can do it during the day or early. Okay, I'll just do it in the daytime sometime. Anita's that drives through deer down there tonight, or Metoskey, so. What works out for you guys? I'll call in tomorrow. Okay, like 2 o'clock or something?
Thursday, I could be tied up all day.
How about Tuesday, 2 o'clock?
Yeah, Tuesday.
That work for you guys?
Yes.
Okay, call in until 2 o'clock. Okay, then I'll post the meeting notice. Okay, that's all of the assessor. Presentation by Fred Taylor and Sommerset Pointe. I think if you guys move some of those chairs up in here, you can see better on the screen what's going on. This is all open up in here. Get you guys up towards the front, just bring a chair with you. Sorry, kind of bad. We're gonna try and pull out some of it, so it makes it easier.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just do, get some, Taylor, Sommerset Pointe is a project that we actually started working with the township back in 2005. So we're almost 10 years into this project of a very nice cooperative working relationship between the development and township. It's a mixed-use development project, residential, commercial, restaurant, yacht club, etc. Early on in the project, it became evident that to continue to build out the project, there would have to be septic disposal facilities beyond that the site could handle. An agreement was negotiated way back in 2006 and 7 with the city of Boyne South. The city, it actually was August of 2007 that agreement was signed by the township, by the developer, by the city, allowing the extension of city municipal sewer facilities along the lake shore out to Sommerset Pointe. There were some real problems with that agreement from the standpoint of the township, from the standpoint of the developer. Some of those being that the service area was limited to just a corridor along lake shore. Only residential properties on lake shore could hook in, as well as Sommerset Pointe. Absolutely no commercial development, because the city did not want to see commercial development coming into the township. They viewed that as unwanted competition for the city, and subsequent to the agreement being signed, there was a lot of talk and discussion, as I understand, within various quarters, including some city meetings, about potential annexation of portions of the township, which of course would be a pretty hefty increase to any properties as well, township properties, if they have to start paying city taxes. As a result of all those matters, Sommerset Pointe broached and then explored, then pursued the prospect of an off-site sewer treatment facility. The Marshall Road site, a 20-acre site that is going to be the subject of some further discussion to have septic disposal capacity within the township, in which, by the way, we're talking about with this site 27,000 gallons per day, which is almost as large as what the city was had agreed to in their agreement, was 38,500 gallons per day. So there's a large amount of septic capacity for the township to help improve some problematic areas for the township. A franchise agreement was reached. The township in this public system has the right to 20% capacity to the public at large within this system, which the township has the right to assign to township residents to help improve some marginal failing septic facilities and systems in this area, which there certainly are some. As a result of all that, the franchise agreement was reached in April of 2009. In 2010, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality issued a groundwater discharge permit for this site based upon extensive testing, studies, etc., which are going to be discussed here in a minute. And so this plan has long been in place, long agreed upon. In order to make this system viable and operational, there had to be a minimum capacity flow from Sommerset Pointe to be able to move the effluent up to this site. A minimum, I think it was maybe 7,000 gallons per day, something in that range. We finally, Sommerset Pointe, now that Sommerset Pointe is starting to realize some of the benefits of improving economy, which, by the way, Sommerset has been the only viable development project in northern Michigan for the last 5 years, which speaks a lot for the township and this cooperative approach. But at any rate, we finally reached that threshold. Moving forward, the groundwater discharge permit is there, the property is there. The DEQ is going to analyze and make a determination on issuance of a construction permit. As part of that process, there's a public hearing held on August 19th in front of the Planning Commission for a special use permit, which would facilitate this use of the property. The Planning Commission granted that special use permit. It was evident at that hearing that there were a lot of concerns, there were a lot of questions regarding this system and the operation of this system. Craig Taylor, the developer of Sommerset Pointe, has been gracious enough to be here this evening to provide a presentation as to the operation of this system. We feel that will help answer a lot of the questions and concerns, and so I'm pleased to introduce Fred Taylor.
Thank you. Good evening. Needless to say, when I was contacted a week or two ago after the planning meeting, I was surprised at a lot of the issues that were brought up. We had made a presentation in 2007, 2008. And in fact, the slide here is from that period of time. And what the purpose is in everything that we've done on Sommerset Pointe is we try and do the research first. We try and make sure that when we do move forward with the program, that it's something that's going to benefit the community as well as the trustees. So I appreciate the trustees allowing me to discuss it tonight. This is a view of the Black Bear Farm system. And the system is actually right here and that I'm describing. And this is the condominiums that are approximately 200 or 300 feet away. That system has been in place for quite some time. What I'd like to do tonight is to discuss facts. So some of the people I've talked to, the neighbors, I've been up here a long time, got to know a lot of the people through the yacht club. If I've created anxiety or stress, I apologize for that. We've tried to approach everything we do from my background, that's from an engineering background, that's from a factual background. And so, and the people that were here that worked for me or involved with me and conveyed some of the concerns or the anxieties, what I hope to do tonight is to express and show what we're trying to accomplish. You know, I've had people come up to me and say, one person tonight saying, you know what, that's my home, that's my property. That is the most important thing, either from a value standpoint or from an emotional standpoint. So again, my purpose is to explain what I'm trying to accomplish. In my humble opinion, I think it's in a positive way. My job is to present facts and eliminate the fiction that takes place in some of these areas. This next slide, it really describes how the working system takes place. And this system is a little different because what it's trying to do, as you see the agitation here, it tries to speed up the actual microorganisms as they digest and break down the solids that come into the system. At the same time, one of the things it's doing is it has the different tanks, as I'll show you more detail in the way that it's laid out, is so by the time that you have water coming out of there, all the solids are trapped. You're going to see that when it breaks it down, it digests it, as it's one slide shows you, it's a digester. What it's trying to do, in this case it was a slide, it's a little bit strange in some ways, but it's the point making that you have all these microbes, and what they're doing is they're breaking this down. No different than other systems or water treatment systems that are very sophisticated. This system has been around for at least 10 to 15 years. It's approved in Mansalona, it's approved in about 3 other communities in the state, and it functions and it works. The next slide shows the layout of the diagram of the system. You have a very small structure here, you have the tanks that are here, and the underground lines that go back and forth for all the system that takes place. This system has redundancy. In other words, it has backup systems. This system is run by an engineering firm, Ray Trim, who we've already discussed this with, and they oversee it, they monitor it. It has in today's world, as you know, with cell phones, they're able to communicate to the system by an iPad, and if there's any issues, it sends out the alerts to be able to tell them that there's a problem, and they can come and address it, as well as they're reporting us on a continual basis to the state of Michigan what they're doing. This is the rapid infiltration beds themselves. They're approximately 2,500 square feet. As you can see in this picture right here, there's 4 of them. Our system needs 1 currently right now, but it's designed for 4. So it has excess capacity, and you see here, this is when it was just put in, there's a berm, a 4-foot berm around it. One of the questions that came up that, well, what happens if your pumps fail or there's an issue there? There's enough capacity, and you'll see in the diagrams and the map, that this one would hold a day's worth of activity at full production. That's at full capacity at 27,000 square feet. So if you had an accident with a pump, or you had a power failure, you had something go wrong, this system has 4 days worth of capacity. That by that time, if you needed to put in new pumps, you need to put in other things, as well as the system will shut down itself as far as allowing it to get out there. It doesn't have, because of the aeration system, it doesn't have ponds or anything exposed and the odors that go with it. It's all, as you can see here, this system was this system here 3 or 4 years later, and you can see the grass is growing inside. That's the whole principle behind what this system is supposed to do. This shows again, it comes out of the main tank, it's now a liquid, a clear liquid that goes into your filtration beds, it's aerated up, and what you're trying to do is disperse it. You're trying to allow it to then basically, through the natural characteristic of soils, it comes up and it evaporates because of the way it's laid out and set up. The next thing it shows, here's our flows, 27,000 gallons at maximum capacity. You'll see later in my slide what we're at currently in Sommerset and where we're going to be at when we get full buildup. The number of hours in a day, of course, 24. Number of minutes, you know, okay, that's a little bit redundant. The number of minutes in one day, we break this down. Our average is 18.75 gallons a minute at full capacity. Now, this thing also has what they call in-house storage in its tank system, so it modulates and it controls the amount of water that goes through the system. So you're basically like a sprinkler system. If you turned your hose on, you flood your lawn. Instead, this is controlled. You're going to put the same gallons out, but it's controlling how it disperses it like you do your lawn. So this, I'm trying to put things in a practical sense when I talk to people about some of the things that we develop, specialized tires, specialized wheels, that's my main business. I try and break it down to a very simple system that the average person can understand, and we give you handouts, you do all the math. You find I've done something wrong, you come back and show me. But this is all factual. I'm not trying to create an illusion. I try and deal with the facts in all my businesses, and that's what works. Now we talked about the area comparison of the rapid beds to the sandy acreage at the site. We have an area that you'll see in the aerial maps, it's 9 acres. It's 9 acres of sand, you'll see on the aerial photographs, and a gallon of water takes 0.133 cubic feet. As you can see, I've got 2,358,000 square feet that I can disperse that 27,000 gallons of. 27,000 gallons takes 3,591 square feet, cubic feet. So you can see, let's say I had a catastrophe, let's say I had a problem, and it comes out, there was concern about, oh, it's gonna come down the hill and it's gonna flood my property. I've got 2.3 million cubic feet of area, and it's all sand, and that's all been tested with bore samplings and everything else. So again, when we looked at this, we analyzed it from the data, from the facts. Now here, the equalization tank. As I said earlier, references a holding tank that allows for the adequate flow, 18.75 gallons, and that's the flow, and it spreads it over that period of time, over a 24-hour period. So again, what we're trying to do is provide a system that's got safety, it's got technology that allows you to do it in a correct way, and we're respectful of the environment. We're doing it in a way that the average, if you have a septic tank system, it's not processing it this way. It's not doing it the way that the system, because we're accelerating and we're enhancing the actual breakdown. This is the topography of the area that, here's Advance, and here's the topography around it, and I'll give you a different view. So when we were preparing this thing back in 2007, and I sat down with engineering companies from northern Michigan, different areas, we came in and we looked at the topography. Here's Advance. Here's the area we're talking about. Here's Boyne Mountain over here. What we tried to do is we tried to look at what Mother Nature created, and is there an ideal site that we could find that would allow us to put in one of these systems, again, with our neighbors in mind, with safety involved, and would it do a good job? Because if you're gonna invest $1.5 million between the water system and the septic system I'm putting in, I wanna make sure that this thing is gonna last and it's easy to maintain. Next slide. Again, I've changed the angle of the topography. Here's where the development is. Here's the land right up in here. And you're gonna see when we show in here, there's a plateau. Natural occurring, I'm gonna give you an aerial view now. This is a natural occurring, and here's where the beds are. You notice there's no vegetation there, but there's trees all around it. Why is that? Because I've got 15 feet of sand and gravel. What happens when you have sandy loam soil? It doesn't support trees and things. So when we saw that in our aerial view, that's when we started talking to the owner of that property, who was from Nebraska. And part of the condition is we went in and did the boring samples. Next, here's the samples. We did 4 different areas. We went down 5 feet. We hit moisture at 6 feet. So under the regulations by the DEQ, once we ran into a water table or water at that point in time, we stopped. So now we took, what do we have? In one, we had 3% still clay in this one area. We've got 86% fine sand. You go down further, we've got coarse gravel. So what happens is, when you're sitting on that plateau, let's go back, again, you can see by the topography here that there's a plateau there. Now you can see that you have a valley that comes over here, and how quickly it runs off. If you walk the property around it, you have a valley over to the other side. So those are the things that we tried to look at when we developed it. Now we come here. Now we talk about noise. That was one of the concerns of how much noise is this gonna make? 100 decibels is like a passing truck, a lawnmower, a car horn, and 5 meters, a wood saw, or a boiler in the factory. Here's the decimeters that we use and go around and look to see what it is. Then we went to Bear Creek and stood at the system to see where it was coming in and how close it was, and there it was at 6 feet from the plant, it was 75 decibels. Well within the OSHA requirements, if you're in a working environment in a plant, you're allowed to go up to 85 decibels. That means you're there 8 hours a day. It's not going to cause hearing. It's not a loud system. And this property, again, is surrounded by trees, which are naturally going to diffuse the sound. Truck traffic and sludge production, another issue that came up that was a concern. So again, we look at all these different things. At the present flow rates, it would be 4.5 years before we have to remove these sludge. 4.5 years. Full build out, the truck may come once a year. Because of the efficiency of the system of breaking down the organic matter and processing, that's what we're trying to do. Now there was concern about all-weather road and be installed truck traffic. There's not a lot of truck traffic. The way we're designing the road, minimize erosion, minimize the issues with the environment. We've done that in the Sommerset project. We spent a lot of money trying to make sure we did it the right way, putting in riprap and other things that help the aquatic life. If you're ever in the harbor, you see a lot of fish. Again, we are sensitive to the environment, trying to do it the right way. Odor assessment, as you saw, the plant was built very, very close. Everything that we're doing is we're trying to minimize it. That's the way the system works. It's efficient. You know, if you have a lot of odor, it would be a problem. But we also looked at where are the characteristic winds, where are the houses. The winds are usually from the west during the summertime, northwest. Where's in the closest house 400 feet to the west of us. So the prevailing winds, if there was odor, but we feel and have seen it at Black Bear, it just doesn't happen. It's so minor as far as what it puts into the environment. Now here's our flow rates currently. Up here, this is about 2,500 gallons. You look at the dates, peak of the summer, go up to 2,500 gallons, comes down in the wintertime, and then goes back up. Again, what we're trying to do is make sure that by the time we build the system, we come online, that we have the flows and efficiencies. And with what's going on with the concern for Lake Charlotte with the changes, you know, one of the things we looked at when we looked at the township is talking about on, you go below, you talk about one of the concerns was a lot of clay, shale. We're fortunate to be sitting on 9 acres of sand. 2.3 million cubic feet of sand, to be very accurate. So that's what we're trying to look at. So where, if you're going to put a site that later, where you have people on Lake Shore, you don't have the capacity, or the DEQ isn't gonna renew your permit, or they're gonna make you put in mound systems and other types of structures, what better to have that availability, because the city certainly isn't gonna do it. They're not gonna spend 1.5 million to bring you out, and it's just not gonna happen. So we have an ability to try and also give back, that's why we offered 20% of our capacity, to also think about the future rather than about just today. 5/8 garden hose at 45 PSI, that's our flow. And one day, that's what you get out, not actually even at full water flow. So get things in perspective. 5/8 garden hose, turn it on at your house, leave it running at full capacity for 24 hours. That's how much water is gonna go through our system at full capacity. And try and put things relative. Yeah, water flow comparison chart. 9 acres, there are 43,560 square feet in 1 acre. That's a fact. This equates to, and assuming at 6 feet depth of sand, it's deeper than that. It equates to 2,000,003. Actually, I think this was a 5, that might be an error. I just created this afternoon. The amount of water the plant creates each day, 3,609 cubic feet. That's based off of 27,000 gallons, it's all math. Now you put this volume of water dispersed over the area. This aquarium right here is 0.65 cubic feet, 0.65. Now you fill this aquarium with sand right here, right to the top. That's 0.65 cubic feet. If my math is right, and I equate that to what that 9 acres is, and I take this bottle of water, and I put in 1 ounce. Let's put in 3, 4, 5, 6 ounces. That's how much is gonna go in, and that's if this was full. I went and dug this up at one of the boreholes today. That's the property. That's the material that we're trying to do. That's what I'm trying to explain. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? We'll go back and ask for more material.
Well, I mean, it seems to me that the planning commission didn't have all these facts
I think they
to
did.
make it, well, it wasn't evident at that meeting that these facts were available. They what?
They had all those papers,
Who's they?
the planning commission.
The public did. We're here for the public.
That's why we're having this meeting.
We should have had the public have the meeting at the planning commission to have those numbers. So the public could share their opinions based on the facts. I just think the process is backwards. This meeting should have taken place at the planning commission, this information, not after the fact of the decision.
Well, go ahead.
All that information on there was supplied in 2008
To who?
to the planning commission and to the township. That's when this presentation was originally. It's been updated, but it was originally made in 2007, 2008.
Well, we were working on in Sommerset. At that time, nobody came forward. We had meeting after meeting on it. But you were at a lot of my meetings. Yes.
How are we supposed to find out? I went on the website to find out what the agendas were on the meetings, and there's no agenda. So let's say I wanted to come to a meeting that was about Sommerset. How would I know which of the meetings it is when there's 12 a year? Last time we were here, I was told to go online to look up to see when the meetings were. So I did that. But there is no agenda. It doesn't tell you what you're going to be talking about. And I don't check every month for 7 or 8 years to find out when Sommerset